Today on the Topic Show, Donald Trump demands that Big Pharma give the United States the lowest prices in the world. Thee Stallion Twerking for Kamala Harris for $5 million goes viral on social media yet again. A woman begged for adult relations, then claims that 5 NHL players took advantage of her. A victim of the Cincinnati Jazz festival goes viral on social media. Honda claims that the Prelude Hybrid is the ideal sports car. And Leatherman recalls their multi-tool. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapters so you can mount it to any standard AR-15, like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you can tell your friends and tell your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Honda claiming the new Prelude is the ideal sports car. Perhaps they are drinking too much sake. But now, going to the specific article on motor1.com, specifically credited to Adrian Padiano, who's right over there. They say, quote, Honda claims the new Prelude is the ideal sports car. To go along with that bold statement, Honda offers the best looking yet at the reborn Prelude, which at least it looks pretty good, actually. If only it had but it's a soulless, heartless machine. If only it had a heart or a soul, maybe it would be worth buying. But this is a vehicle that's going to cost more than the Honda Civic Si or the Honda Civic Type R, which both have a manual transmission and 4 cylinders of glory. And this one is a hybrid, also known as trash for performance cars, because you can't take them on any tracks, harder to modify, and like most batteries, like EVs, worthless after 10 years, and is loses the value of a hybrid in terms of the short-term benefit of the increased fuel economy. So again, does look pretty cool, especially if Honda has some fun colors, like this is lime green, or as they call my 2018 Honda Civic Si, Energy Atomic Green, I believe is the specific paint type name. They had nice, fun colors, even better. I'm not a fan of pretty much every Honda Civic being white these days, or black. It seems like it's the only exciting color they have now is blue. Every once in a while, I'll see a red one. Bring back fun colors, Honda. Come on, now, I'll go dive into the specifics of the story. Now, he said, quote, hard to believe, but it's already nearly 2 years since Honda revived the Prelude name with a concept car at the 2023 Tokyo Auto Salon. The 6th generation model later evolved into the near production prototype for this year's Goodwill Festival of Speed, and now it's about to go on sale in Japan. The domestic market launch is locked in for September ahead of the Sporty Coupe's arrival in the US. Dealers as early as 2026. It's also scheduled to reach Europe next year. To hype up the newborn nameplate, Honda has set up a so-called teaser page where you can fumble upon the interesting statement. Apparently, the reason for building the coupe, this is hilarious, quote, was to uncover the latest demand for ideal sports car, unquote. This is according to development boss Tomoyuki Yamagami. Yeah, not with a hybrid, you morons. Again, I haven't been this bombastic for a little while, but really? Yes, we want a coupe. I was going to say, I love my 2018 Gen 10 Honda Civic Si. It's got a stick shift, it's a fun little coupe, and it doesn't have that cylinder deactivation crap like they have in the modern one, or the Gen 11. Yes, coupes are awesome. Honda was stupid to stop making them, but now you're going to make one that costs more than Type R and is more boring because it's a hybrid. I cannot drive that statement. I can't drive that point enough home because it's not going to sell well. They tried this a decade ago with the CRZ, or no, the CR. What was it? Was it the CRZ? It was a fun looking little coupe, but it's a hybrid. Now they did offer a stick for that thing, but it sold terribly and they canceled it after a couple of years. I guarantee you that's going to happen right here. Now, they say again, that was according to development boss Tomoyuki Yamagami, claiming the project didn't actually begin with the goal of reviving the Prelude name, so the company eventually did choose to dust off the moniker that had been dormant since 2001. Here's a look at the rear of the vehicle, which, I mean, the rear almost looks like a bastardized Dodge Dart and a Nissan Z had an abomination of a child. Which is to say, not great. And even some people say oddly reminiscent to maybe a Porsche rear end. If personally, I think you have to be a little bit inebriated to see it that much. That's barely there, in my opinion. They continue saying, quote, as for what Honda means by an ideal sports car, we believe it refers to the blend of performance and practicality. The Prelude is borrowing the Civic Type R hardware, such as the dual front axis front suspension and Brembo front brakes. All right, that's a good start. That's good. While also offering a split folding rear seats, underfloor storage, and a liftgate. Unlike the CTR and the more upscale Acura Integra, it'll be hybrid, so fuel efficiency should be better. Which I say, who gives a shit about fuel efficiency for a sports car? Again, the people buying this are probably going to be folks who this will maybe be their second or third vehicle. I would argue should be a daily driver in terms of the practicality of Hondas in general. But again, this is all about miles per gallon. It's also not Honda. Even if they have the Civic Type R or the Civic Si engine, you're still going to get 30 plus mile per gallon. And again, you're not buying it because of that. You're buying it because it's fun. And yet they're saying, oh yeah, the hybrid it'll be great. It'll be more practical. No. What makes Honda car, Hondas are great partially in part because they're very, very, very reliable when it's just a gas engine, not a hybrid or an EV. But the Honda S2000, one of the best cars of all time, I would argue. And that was just 4 cylinders of glory, a stick shift. That weighed basically nothing. I think on par with the Mazda Miata. It's just a fun, small sports car, and it sold great. It was a great vehicle. The Honda S2000 is iconic. They still sell for like 25 to 35 grand plus these days if you can find them in good condition. And yet it blows my mind. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to make it a hybrid. Now again, this might be because they have to acquiesce to the globalists and the governments that are forcing them to make more and more fuel-efficient vehicles. Now, they continue to say, quote, Honda insists it's more than a coupified Civic hybrid. Having a large diameter tires and optimized wheelbase, its design is inspired by a glider that meant to preview other electrified performance vehicles. Electrified performance vehicles. Now that's funny. Oh, geez. We scrapped the Prelude's dedicated website to grab every image we could find showing the hybrid coupe from all the angles, which I'll pull up some more pictures here. The interior, I want to say it looks like crap, but yeah, there's a lot of parts sharing with the Honda Civic, which, again, understandable. But it's not that different or revolutionary. I wouldn't be bragging about that. Now, they say it does give the impression of being more than just a 3-door Civic with a sloping roofline, but interior photos show limited space for the rear passengers, which, again, who cares? The nicer two-tone theme not extending to the rear seats is an obvious sign of cost cutting, but it's 2025, so perhaps we shouldn't be too surprised. The bench is all black, which, no. Also, no one cares about the rear bench seats anyway. Yeah, I'm going to get a couple more pictures of this. Again, it's the interior. Ugh. Of course, it's got no stick shift. So pathetic and boring. Ugh. Yeah, a rudimentary. Yeah, you have all the buttons for the automatic transmission. So boring. So pathetic, Honda. Bringing back again the original Prelude was a great, fun, sporty car, easy to modify. And this is just pathetic. They say, quote, we'll still have to wait until September for the full technical specifications. However, don't expect a manual gearbox. The new Prelude will only have 2 pedals and an S Plus shift mode with paddle shifters to simulate gear changes as you are feeling that soullessness of driving a boring vehicle. Well, I did add that last part. Presumably similar to Hyundai's N Grin Shift, but with an actual gasoline engine. It's not a CVT, so there's hope of an engaging drive even without a stick shift and only front-wheel drive layout, which front-wheel drive is fine. I actually love my Civic Si. There's an advantage to having front-wheel drive when you're having, wet track days. There's a little advantage there, but yeah, the real disappointment is the lack of a heart. As for the power, the Civic Hybrid makes 200 horsepower. Yeah, that's for the Civic Hybrid, and 232 foot-pound of torque. So they're borrowing the drivetrain from that, so it might be about the same. So my car from years ago is better in every way. Because not to brag, but my Honda Civic Si has 205 horsepower. Though I do have a K&N cold air intake with stickers. So that's like 50 horsepower, right? Kidding, it's like 1 to 2. Now, they say that the Civic Hybrid also makes 232 foot-pound of torque from its naturally aspirated 2-liter gas paired with 2 electric motors. Great, well, crap, they can brake that you can't easily mod. There's hope that Prelude would improve on those figures given the sportier positioning. Honda also expected to charge a premium. So pricing will likely exceed that of the 2026 Civic Hybrid. that starts at $31,645 before options. The new Prelude definitely won't be track-focused machine. Honda has already stated that, quote, this isn't going to be the sportiest, zippiest car that's going to be tossed out into the circuits. Yeah, it's also a hybrid. Most circuits and tracks won't allow it. Just like EVs, most tracks in the United States, they don't have the fire suppression technology or the insurance policies for EVs. Also, you don't have enough time between race sessions or training sessions to adequately charge an EV. There are many reasons why they're not good for the track. They're not good for much, I would argue. But yeah, just it's ridiculous. Now, they said it's being marketed as a true global model with the same design and specifications across all markets where it will be sold. Which again, I'm guessing they're just acquiescing to globalist, emissions policies, and that's why it's not having a proper drivetrain. With reports from Japan already speculated that the hot Type S or even Type R derivatives are in the pipeline, but even if those happen, don't expect to see them anytime soon. The standard Prelude has not even launched yet, and it won't make sense to diversify the lineup so early in product life cycle. Yeah, and all the comments here are saying stupid, stupid, stupid. I was right. It was the CRZ. That was 15 years ago. And yes, same kind of option, same kind of concept. It is a hybrid, smaller car. Now, again, I'll give it credit where it's credit due. That one did have a stick shift option. They're very hard to find, but I've heard they're fun cars. But again, the issue is, the batteries that are bad and terrible that will go. I mean, it's like trying to maintain a smartphone on wheels. That's why I always am against EVs for long-term ownership or reliability. Same with hybrids. And again, there's so much potential. I'm willing to bet my bottom dollar someone's going to do a nice drivetrain swap at SEMA. And just, again, it would be so easy. Just, people would complain it's not enough power. But if you had this fun little car with just this Civic Type R drivetrain, as in, turbocharged, 4 cylinders with a stick shift, people would make fun of it, but it would sell a lot better. I'm not sure how much more they'd be willing to pay. Because again, it'd be mostly aesthetic, a little bit small, a little more smaller, agile. Because again, the Civic Type R also only comes with 4 doors. Just like the last generation for the Gen 10, only came with 4 doors for the Civic Type R. And again, they got those engines, it's such a lost opportunity. They have the engines in the factory, give it a proper drivetrain. Now, it'd be even better if they put in a V6 with a stick shift and turbocharge that. Honda would never do that these days. They should. But again, then this could be a real competitor. It could be a real contender, I tell you. But right now, mark my words, this is going to be a commercial failure in the United States. Because presumably this thing is going to be more expensive than the Civic Type R. It's like $40,000 to $47,000, give or take. Well, plus dealer markup, whatever your local dealership is doing. But so it's $47,000 for a Civic Type R, up to $54,000 with options. All right. So let's say this is going to cost more than that. It's going to be premium. It's going to cost what? Maybe start at 50, get to 60, 70? Not more than 17 people are going to buy that crap. But again, for that price, you get a nice used, a Nissan Z, a Toyota Supra, a nice used Porsche. I mean, if you go vintage, quote unquote, you can even get a nice 2002, at that price, you can get you could almost get a Honda S2000 CR edition, which was the last generation, the last send-off, the last hoorah for the car that was more track-focused. Because those are usually 50 to 70 to 80,000 plus for those. I mean, if I have that kind of money and want to get a dedicated sports car, there's a 0% chance I'd buy that over a nice, now vintage, Honda S2000 CR. So, again, I'll give Honda design team credit. It looks pretty nice from the outside. It's not too ugly. It's something I could get. It's something attractive. But, again, the powertrain just so disappointing. I mean, again, not to be too much speculative and not financial advice, maybe this thing will become a collectible because it'll be such a commercial failure. Again, most people never beat the S&P 500 when it comes to investments, when it comes to cars. I don't recommend it. I'm just saying where I see this car in a couple years, it's going to be a novelty in a museum or some car collections. And even then, I don't think it's going to be. I think Honda's going to pull the plug early, pun mildly intended, just because I don't know who this car is for. At that price point, with the competition you have out there, with what average sports car aspire want, again, the average consumer is okay with hybrids. That's a very fast-growing category in the automotive community in the United States, especially. But this is a specialty, fun sports car. You're not going to fit the whole family in there, unless you're a gearhead and if you're a gearhead, you never buy this car. But if you're a gearhead, you'll really make a car work. So to say, Well, those guys aren't going to buy this car because it doesn't have, like, again, I know I'm in the minority with the stick shift ownership. I've only ever bought and owned stick shifts. I love them. But even my friends who have automatics, even the gearhead, all the gearheads, they still want gas engines. They still want the reliability, the modification capabilities, and the fun feeling you get from it. Though I would still joke at them and say it's still a heartless experience because they can't downshift into a corner manually, but I partially digress. So again, it looks kind of neat, but I don't think this is going to sell. I think we're going to pull the plug in as soon as 20. Yeah, I think the lifespan for this vehicle might be as short as 24 months. Which again, in terms of automobile, that is very, very short. But let me know in the comments, would you buy this if you had a proper drivetrain, or do you think it'll succeed right now as is? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Pride podcast, you have some adult content, so wondering if you have children listening, cover their ears. You have a woman who begs for adult relations, then ends up charging 5 NHL players with abusing her in the worst possible way. And I normally don't change the vernacular too much on the show when I'm reading quotes. I'm going to do my best to keep this moderately family friendly. So if you have kids listening, they won't be. It's probably best to keep in the other room for this segment of the show in particular. But yeah, this is brought to us thanks to Jeremy Kaufman on X, spelled or hashtag Jeremy Kauffman, and he's reacting to a court case, and he says, quote, "Woman literally begs with men to have adult relations with her," and I'm not talking about taxes, "is recorded saying she gives consent to these relations, and Canada still charged 5 NHL players with abusing her in the worst possible way. What an effed up country," which, I mean, spoiler, I could have told him that a long time ago. Canada is a weak, conquered nation where you can't even defend yourself. The government controls everything. You can't even have free speech over there. They have no rights over there. It's a terrible place. And I would argue why we even allow them to exist. We should just liberate them, but another topic for another time, perhaps. Now, bringing up the specifics of the actual article, they say, quote, "On the totality of evidence, it was not the defendants who had been the ones that were instigating the adult relations. The girl pleasured herself, I keep this again kid friendly. The girl pleasured herself by ensuring that her liabilities and profit margin, her P&L statement on her tax form was zeroed out at the end, which, if you're, that's also kind of satisfying for accountants, but nevertheless. And she demanded, is anyone going to assist me further? And even made fun of the men, saying they were pussies for being reluctant to have adult relations with her. He said, given, oh, sorry about that, pop up there. Given relations with all 5 defendants, which she laughed and she said it was consensual, or she said, quote, "It was all consensual. Are you recording me? Okay, good. You are so paranoid. Holy, I enjoyed it. It was fine. I'm sober. I'm so sober. That's why I can't do this right now." And that got, he continues reacting to, again, originally credited to Clara Lehman. And she says, a recent recap from the trial in Ontario, Canada. They say, if the defense assumed that the female judge was likely to rule in her favor, they were to be disappointed in her judgment. Carosio concluded that, quote, on the totality of the evidence, the EM, not the defendants, had been the sexual instigator and aggressor. Yeah, again, that's all that. They got 1.4 million views and 19,000 likes. He also says, unfortunately, the Sankey diagrams from the trial have not been made public, getting 1,000 likes. Let's see here. Now, Mark says, quote, "I don't contradict your point at all, but young men should learn that if a woman starts pleasuring herself in front of you and you and all your friends and calls you a pussy if you don't all help her, you need to run fast as you can out of the room and drag your friends with you." Getting 3.7 thousand likes. And he responded, Jeremy, saying, quote, "An important lesson for dads to teach," getting 1.5 thousand likes, which, what was that? Silly romantic comedy with Ashton Kutcher. Does not really narrow it down. It's like half his movies. What was it? It was where they got, was it What Happens in Vegas? Cliche, they get, they end up falling in love. But one of the controversy, or not, I guess one of the dramas in the show was they were trying to get the other person to cheat in order to annul the marriage, which, well, I was going to say, there should be a thing in the United States in terms of whoever cheats, loses all the money and property in terms of marriage. But nevertheless, when it comes to the movie, Ashton Kutcher walks into a room. There's like 6 highly attractive women, all very bubbly and happy, which is a red flag as well. There's a group of women. Are they really happy? I'm only partially kidding. But he calls his friend and goes, "Hey, there's my apartment is filled with, 6 beautiful girls. They all want to have fun in the adult way. Do you think, should I go for it? His friend goes, no, you moron, you're being set up. Because those things don't happen in real life. Well, maybe if you look at Ashton Kutcher, maybe. But for all of us else, it doesn't happen. You're being set up. And in the movie, he was. The wife was trying to trick him into doing that so that she would win in the court and get all the stuff. She would win the jackpot that they won at the casino, that they won together when they were legally married. The plot of the movie is coming back to me slowly. Again, it's pretty much all Ashton Kutcher movies. But, yeah, again, if someone's doing that in front of you these days, I mean, again, they even tried to cover their rear with the recording of her saying, oh, yeah, it's consensual, I'm coherent, like, I'm cognizant, I'm coherent. Yeah, even then, run away. I mean, these days, geez Louise, I'm surprised. I mean, churches should be advertising, like, get married to be somewhat safer, but even then, I've heard horror stories of men getting screwed over. Jeremy Blackthorne also says, are you familiar with the Bauer outrage story? Dude was framed, suspended from Major League Baseball before the investigation, and still blackballed even after being found innocent, getting 959 likes. Jeremy said, loosely, and what I saw was effed up. All these national sports leagues are so cucked. I understand liking sports, but not giving them money. Getting 512 likes. Nyana says, quote, it's crazy that we're all just out here hoping a woman doesn't craft a compelling narrative to ruin your life, getting 255 likes. Yeah, there's some truth to that in terms of, I mean, if you're starting to lose track of how many people have had their lives destroyed with false accusations and false stories and false narratives. And again, some of the things were accused day one, proven innocent, accused page 1, acquitted page 11, which was a reference back when there was newspapers, so probably a very dated reference. But yeah, there were many instances where, I mean, some people say I'm paranoid in cybersecurity. I'm like, no, I work in IT and I know it's out there. Can't think most guys should be like, yeah, I'm paranoid for a reason. I've seen lives just viscerally destroyed or false accusations. And of course, there should be, but there's no really ramifications for those false accusations. In my opinion, they should be jail time, but it's not what the legal system does right now. Now, Sevender says, quote, a funny thought experiment to imagine if instead of a 20-year-old young woman begging to assist her was a 13-year-old girl begging them to let her go, and instead of the 5 white dudes, it was 5 Pakistani immigrants getting 829 likes, which, yeah, Canada, a lot of these countries are looking away when it comes to mass migration and some of those, I would argue, crimes against humanity. So Strata Mattis says, quote, so you can film a woman bullying you into having adult relations with her, and if she decides, well, after the fact that she didn't like it, too bad you're a person who's, committed one of the most gravest acts of all time. Trying to keep this moderately family friendly. I think I'm failing, though. They got 809 likes. Fix the Money says, quote, get married before having sex, getting 85 likes, which, again, that still doesn't guarantee you, because Lord knows we've seen a lot of men having their lives destroyed left and right with marriage, the divorce is being initiated by women 70-80% of the time. Not only do you lose everything, but in many instances you're paying alimony for the rest of your life. So that's not a guarantee that you're going to be safe from these false accusations, but better than nothing, maybe. Lord, I mean, it's no surprise that so many young men are choosing abstinence these days. Lord Shelvin says, quote, just read the Canadians' comments to blow up your mind. The players are so vilified and hated is unbelievable. The country of angry debt-ridden sheep gained 202 likes. Let's see here. This is from the Emergent Perspective, and he says she's the living embodiment of this statement. This is a tweet from 2024 from MyFitnessFeelings, though properly misspelled as feelings with a Z. It says, quote, women will literally start a global witch hunt against flirting, successfully destroy it, forget, and then start a new movement complaining that no one is hitting on them. Getting 665, let's make it 666 likes, because, yep. That's also the reason why a lot of guys don't hold doors open anymore. They got yelled at by the ugly feminists too many times. They want to be treated equally. Let's see here. Ryan Budram says, quote, if anyone wonders why birth rates are dropping and young men are scared to talk to women, this is why. Yep. 110%. Got 46 likes. Luke says, oh, also the NHL won't reinstate them as players for the crime of being accused, getting 366 likes. Yep. Reasonable Man says, quote, women and non-whites have no agency according to the law, getting 525 likes. Rusty Calhoun says, G. Willikers, A+ for aging reference. I haven't heard that since Andy Griffith. It's a little thing, but a classic. Who would have known a woman, again, balancing her accounting books in front of 5 men and willing to have them assist would turn out to be batshit crazy. Avoidable situation, getting 241 likes. Yeah. But these guys are, not to be pejorative of these guys, but a lot of them are the age, again, trying to keep this moderately family friendly, young, dumb, and full of accounting ink. I mean, especially that age with all the hormones, you're an athlete. I mean, self control is a very difficult thing. But again, obviously, it should be exercised. Obviously, should be everyone should be working on it. But yeah, I understand why they made the mistake. I mean, I just thank God I didn't when I was young. Yeah, Sinner joke saying, quote, worth pointing out they were all acquitted, getting 42 likes. However, bonded. Now, someone said yes, but the initial tweet was never changed. Really being charged is enough to destroy lives, getting 19 likes. Yep. Vigilant Tapper says, quote, it seems like one of the core tenets of Western democracies is to not hold women or certain ethnic groups accountable for their actions, getting 73 likes. Yeah, in the UK, you actually get a stronger sentence for making memes about being attacked than actually being attacked. That's how messed up and weak and conquered the European area has become. But yeah, a good example of how you can have your reputation and your career viscerally destroyed. Again, they tried to, I mean, over the years, I mean, one of the biggest things that they drove home is its consent, which is obviously important. But in this case, they actually documented it too, well, digitally. Still wasn't enough to have their lives destroyed. So definitely be on your toes more than usual. And let me know in the comments your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have a woman's injuries who was beaten at the Jazz Festival in Cincinnati going viral on social media. This is brought to us thanks to Mr. Gunslinger. He says, quote, this is the aftermath of a woman who was knocked out and beaten in the street during the weekend's Jazz Festival in Cincinnati, planned accordingly, which I don't think there's a way I can keep this family friendly at all. It's going to have images of her, and you'll see the bruises. So you have kiddos, have them look the other way, or I was going to say earmuffs, but I don't swear too much. But yep, let's pull that up here. And yep, she has many bruises on her face, her neck, and chest. Looks like really bad black eye. Her nose is hit. I mean, she's in rough shape. And this went viral, got 1.1 million views and 9.9 thousand likes. And another example of always be vigilant, especially in your large public venues these days. It's just one of those things where a lot of these events are getting out of hand. And yeah, he's just playing accordingly. I'm a big fan of the Second Amendment. There's an age-old saying, God made man, but Samuel Colt made man equal. Fun fact, he was the first successful patent holder and inventor of the revolver that actually worked successfully. There have been attempts before Samuel Colt, but he was the first one to actually make it work reliably and been a legend of time ever since. And interestingly enough, Mr. Glock, inventor of Glock, apparently born on the same day. Not same year, obviously, but yeah, two of the most revolutionary pistols in history. Glock as well as Colt, same birthday. But again, enough fun facts of the day. Yeah, again, that's why I'm also not a fan of most festivals. But yeah, and there's there's a large guy who beat the crap out of her. Again, a lot of people say Sam Colt is a great equalizer. I mean, it makes a scrawny person just as capable to defend themselves as a big bodybuilder. That's the beauty of firearms. It's a great equalizer. Now, go to the comments. Well, the first one says, hashtag Scott Adams warned us, getting 206 likes. So he's a very famous cartoonist who most best known for Dilbert, and he went viral on social media for bringing up a study in which there's referencing how of this, again, small sample size, but it was a study in which they polled African Americans asking if they want white people in their neighborhood, and overwhelmingly in that study they said no. So he was saying, like, why would you want to be around people that don't want to be around you? And he was canceled and lost all his contracts. And in terms of health, I hope he gets better soon because he was recently diagnosed with cancer, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Going down more and more. You have, I'm not going to, Liberty of Tree 1776 said something very racist. He just says, so total N-word death. I'm not going to say it. Getting 534 likes. Jeez Louise. Fox says, quote, this was from a grown black man and his penalty was a $400 fine. What world are we living in? Getting 1.2 thousand likes. Now, the response to him coming from Skippy Dread says that was his bail, getting 12 likes. Which, yeah, $400 for bail, that is comically low. And his response was, yeah, $400 bail for nearly killing an older lady, or he says an older white lady. I got 69. I'll make it 70 likes. Again, I'm not a fan of these extra low bail dollar amounts. Yeah, I mean, that's basically, that's just such a small bail. I mean, if you go up and beat the crap out of someone to this extent, especially a gal who's smaller than you, obviously. $400 bail, really? You're out in the streets again? Yeah, you should be locked up until the trial. Garish says, quote, well, also, I will agree with these statements, but he says around African Americans are relaxed, getting 312 likes. Mall Crawler says we're deporting the wrong people, getting 233 likes. Going down more and more. The NKO says kicking a person when they're down is assault with a deadly weapon. Surrounding a downed person and stomping them to the ground is attempted murder. This wasn't just a regular fight in the streets. The people who continued attacking those knocked to the ground clearly intended to do serious harm. No legitimate law enforcement department in the country would let this assault go without charges, getting 188 likes, going up like an NVIDIA stock, though not financial advice. Matt Ferris says, quote, can't go anywhere near these types of events. Too many shitbags there, getting 83 likes. Going down more and more. Now, Al Space Ideas, now he says, quote, I'm told she deserved it because the other guy slapped some other guy, and it means, what? Because some other guy slapped some other guy, and that means we can beat women now, apparently, get 160 likes. Veronica Belushi says, quote, virtue signaling is one thing. Being around the scum of the earth demographic will erase your mind, get 144 likes, which, again, I definitely don't agree with that. Well, I don't agree with all these statements, but again, there are good people of all races, obviously. She got 144 likes. Tim Bowman says multiple Cincinnati City Council members have voiced support for the attackers. What the actual F? I'll like that. Yeah, there's a, well, as you would guess, large leftist councilman, or she's a woman. Yeah, she happens to be African American, and she said that these people were asking for it. Of course, she still has her job. Going down more and more. Oh yeah, there she is. Ugh. She has like the Joy Reid haircut, trying to emulate Donald Trump, perhaps. Now this is thanks to Greg. Now Greg says, quote, Cincinnati council person or councilman, President, pro team Victoria Parks. There she is, with those soulless eyes that so many leftists have. Not that I have much ground to stand on. My eyes aren't all that pretty, but still, something about those eyes that just look soulless. Now she tweeted, or she did a Facebook post. Now she says, quote, they begged for that beatdown. I'm grateful for the whole story. Getting 403 likes. Captain Dickard says, quote, the fact that the police chief made excuses is enough to warrant not doing any business in Cincinnati. Getting 169 likes. Iron Will says, quote, apparently the Cincinnati lesbian police chief thinks it's acceptable for diversity purposes. Getting 195 likes. Danny says what? Or Danny says this. Attempted murder? He says get physical with the punishment, which in the United States we don't really do. They get 152 likes, so. Mr. Recondo says, quote, and according to the city councilor, she asked for it, effing pathetic, getting 125 likes. Helen Crabtree says, quote, I'm glad to see she didn't die from the brain injury. I sincerely thought she would. Now, I hope she sues the crap out of everyone involved, getting 163 likes. I also have John says, quote, which Cincinnati politician said that? Oh, yeah, we already covered that. Python says, hopefully she will get a civil suit and sue them into lifelong poverty. I mean, I can't help but think the people that are beating her up are exemplars of the community with probably good jobs that pay well. Again, I can't help but think the guys who are beating people, kicking people on the ground, usually not millionaires, usually not the most hardworking individuals that are attacking innocent people and weak people. So, I mean, even if you get a judgment against them, how much are you really going to get? Again, hopefully she gets compensated fairly for her for the damages. But yeah, again, when it comes to these large public venue events, I make sure people are protected around me. Greg says, be trained, be vigilant, be strapped. The 3 Bs. You have an awesome gif of Keanu Reeves from John Wick, I believe that's 4. Yeah, John Wick 4 with the Terran Tactical, the Pit Viper, which is a pimped out staccato 2011. Beauty double stack 9mm. Now, the downside is that pistol in Keanu Reeves' hands is about $9,500. And they'll make a lot of them. So, yeah, I mean, realistically, get a good Glock 19. It's hard to beat that value. I mean, I was about to say never jams. It might jam once every 5,000 years. I mean, bang for your buck, can't beat a Glock. They're not pretty. They're not pretty and not going to win any beauty contest, but they're hardworking and effective, just like me. But yeah, that is on my vision board. I'd love to get a Terran Tactical. Well, personally, I want the Pit Viper, which is the same thing, just with a tan, but that also has a mount for the red dot. But again, and that's the Pit Viper. Yeah, I would want the Sand Viper. Gun ADHD is a real issue. I got 88 likes. But yeah, I was gonna say, especially when it comes to these large public venues, there's people that are inebriated. even more of a chance that there's going to be a ruckus, which is why I typically don't drink in public, or I really don't drink at all these days. Expensive habit and really don't feel good after it, so don't really see much of an upside to it. But yeah, definitely worth being caution. Hopefully she makes a speedy full recovery, and it'll be interesting to see, culturally speaking, if we ever stop having these types of large public issues where people are stomping people in the streets. I mean, it's one thing to have guys will fight each other, fist fight. That's kind of normal with guys. It's once you have someone who is defenseless on the ground and the beatings continue, that's where I think law enforcement should especially step in, and culturally we should not accept those types of things. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, here, Donald Trump demanding that Big Pharma give the United States the lowest cost in the world. This is brought to us thanks to Nick Sorter on X. Nick says, quote, breaking, President Trump gives an ultimatum to big pharma companies, demanding drug prices in America match the lowest cost anywhere in the world. Without too much further ado, this is credited to somehow Fox Business or Fox News. I'm perplexed because they're somehow still in business. Nevertheless, let's see what White House correspondents have to say. I'm sorry, this is White House Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
This is to the CEO of Eli Lilly from the President of the United States. On May 12, 2025, I signed an executive order delivering most favored nation prescription drug pricing to American patients to stop global freeloading and guarantee that Americans pay the same prices enjoyed by other developed nations. Right now, brand name drugs in the United States are up to 3 times higher on average than anywhere else for the identical medicines. This unacceptable burden on hardworking American families ends with my administration. Most proposals the Trump administration has received to resolve this critical issue promised more of the same, shifting blame and requesting policy changes that would result in billions of dollars in handouts to industry. Moving forward, the only thing I will accept from drug manufacturers is a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from the vastly inflated drug prices and an end to the free ride of American innovation by European and other developed nations. Accordingly, I'm calling on Eli Lilly and Company and every manufacturer doing business in our great country to take the following actions within the next 60 days. Extend the most favored nation pricing to Medicaid, guarantee most favored nation pricing for newly launched drugs, return increased revenues abroad to American patients and taxpayers, provide for direct purchasing at most favored nation pricing. The President's team, including Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz, stand ready to implement these terms. The President expects to further engage with them immediately in good faith to deliver relief for American families. Make no mistake, a collaborative effort towards achieving global pricing parity would be the most effective path for companies, the government, and American patients. But if you refuse to step up, we will deploy every tool in our arsenal to protect American families from continued abusive drug pricing practices. Americans are demanding lower drug prices, and they need them today. Other nations have been freeloading on U.S. innovation for far too long, and it is time they pay their fair share. I look forward to your binding commitments to each of these goals by September 29th, 2025, and my team stands ready to assist with implementation questions. Thank you for your immediate attention to this vital national priority. Signed, President Donald J. Trump. Again, to the CEO of Eli Lilly, this letter in its form has been designed for each of the 17 major drug and pharmaceutical companies in the United States, and we're happy.
Now, he'll probably have more leverage over Eli Lilly. Fun fact, they're headquartered in Indiana in the United States. But Novartis, I mean, most of the largest ones are in other countries, at least a lot of the manufacturing. A lot of the headquarters are also here too. But yeah, that's good news, especially if you're on government handouts. I mean, Trump has a big negotiating power with that because it's a large purchasing. I mean, those are some large orders the taxpayers are, large checks the taxpayers are cutting for those pharmaceuticals. Now, it'll be interesting to see how's it going to help the average American who is not on government handouts. And it's very true. The United States, there's so much profit in healthcare for these pharma manufacturers. They can easily sell. That's why they can sell them to other countries at a fraction of the cost, because we're funding every other country. Now, I do wonder, are the big pharma going to fight this and realize that Trump's only going to be in office for like 3 years or 3.5 more years? Again, for a pharma company, they can sustain 3 years. They have such profit, like 58%, something like that, and they spend most of their research. I mean, they spend most of their money on advertising. Just something RFK Jr. might actually address as well. But I mean, if they just didn't, I mean, could they easily, I think with the margins and how much money they generate, how much money they keep, I do wonder if they just say, all right, we'll ride this out. We'll do short prices now. As soon as Trump's out of office, we'll jack it up. And again, this isn't addressing all the costs. This is for the, the government contracts, which again is where Trump, of course, has his negotiating power. And I think this is great news. Again, in many ways, we are just carrying the whole globe on our back, especially fiscally speaking, just overcompensating because we're paying a premium for these drugs so that other countries get them for a fraction of the costs. Because spoiler, drugs cost basically nothing to manufacture. There's a lot of research development. And then there's, of course, I mean, you look at the line items of their, profit and loss statements and, what they're spending the money on. It's a lot of advertising. But we'll be interested to see how they rolled out. Again, hopefully we get cheap drug prices for the people who need it. Now, this got about 500,000 views and 24,000 likes. The first comments comes to us thanks to Katie saying, quote, Democrats will now advocate for Big Pharma, getting 432 likes, which, I mean, now. That's all they do. I mean, look at that piece of shit Bernie Sanders, not to be, too crass. I mean, you look at where's Bernie Sanders make his money, that lifetime grifter government employee, so he can fly private jets all over while preaching people saying, oh yeah, you gotta worry about emissions. Guy inspires me to buy a Hummer, an H1 with no catalytic converters. But in all seriousness, interestingly enough, you look at, Bernie Sanders says a lot, Big Pharma doesn't give me money. Well, the PACs give him money, and the employees of Big Pharma. In fact, when you look at, employees who donate to Bernie Sanders, I mean, the biggest category was employees at Big Pharma. That's the biggest industry that donated to Bernie Sanders, who I would argue, lifetime communist sellout, who purposely he perfectly encapsulates communism and Marxism. He does nothing, yet steals money from taxpayers all the time. Now, Nick Sorter responds saying, quote, no doubt in my mind, getting 122 likes, which, again, I would argue, Democrats have been the party Big Pharma for a decade plus. Sarah Smith says, quote, Big Pharma destroys American lives every day. They're evil, getting 85 likes. Nick Sorter says, yep, and they'll buy people off instead of actually lowering prices. Governor RFK Jr. must stay strong, getting 50 likes. Which, yeah, of all the industries not to trust, I actually have more faith in Big Tobacco in terms of the transparency of saying, oh yeah, this might kill you, versus Big Pharma. And shoot, the painkillers that destroyed so many people's lives, Bayer, they got off scot-free basically. They paid a couple $1 billion fine, still profitable at the end of the day. But yeah, they assured us, oh yeah, these are not addictive, they said. And turned out to be the most addictive thing out there. And it got people to go from that, and then they started to do the illegal substance of, basically meth. Yeah, it's a Big Pharma. I can't help but think this video will get taken down off the YouTube, of course. So I should always watch on Rumble, though not a financially viable platform. The videos will always be on Rumble. So especially appreciate you taking the time to like, subscribe on all platforms. Now, you also have Sean O'Tono saying, quote, that's plenty notice. I hope Bobby has a extra secretary. Big Pharma won't go down easy, getting 50 likes. Nick Sorter says it's going to be a massive fight. I just hope there aren't too many people in the administration who have been compromised by Big Pharma, getting 49 likes. Shalel says, quote, far too long Big Pharma has taken advantage of the public, making us pay for the problem instead of providing a cure. Again, President Trump getting 90 likes. And Nick says there's a lot more money in the sickness than there is in health, getting 75. Whoa, 86 likes, going up like a stock, and true. Well, this isn't the most liked comment, but it's from the most handsome and awesome guy, me, the Topping Show, in which I say, quote, Bernie Sanders may not be able to fly private anymore. LOL, getting 4 likes. Capital Talk also says, I wonder how Democrats will complain about this, getting 5, so I get 6 likes. And again, I do wonder, will Big Pharma say, okay, we can take 3 years of losses, or we can take 3 years of breaking even. That's fine. Again, I wonder what will be done long term. And also to help all the average Americans as well. Not everyone is on government handouts, though a lot of people, way too many people are. But let me know, what do you think will be the end result of this? And are you pessimistic? Are you optimistic? I think RFK Jr. is probably one of the best people in government health in decades. Granted, that's a pretty low damn bar, but still, I have some hope. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Thee Stallion Twerking for Kamala going viral on social media yet again, as Kamala Harris starts to shill her book about trying to run for president and, pissing away $1 billion on crap like this. Now, this brought us thanks to End Wokeness. I actually missed this a couple days earlier. Is this quote, 1 year ago, the Kamala Harris campaign paid $5 million for Thee Stallion to twerk on stage, which, yeah, now I think that only the lowest IQ of people on the planet respect Thee Stallion. And would actually be, it boggles my mind and also breaks my heart. There are some people who are probably influenced to vote for Kamala Harris because of this moron right here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is going to hurt your earballs. It's technically music, though I think they use it at Guantanamo Bay to torture terrorists. It's terrible. Perhaps the only good thing about YouTube, it's not a good thing, but yeah, they'll strip the music out of this for sure.
Crazy, crazy, wait. Yeah, yeah. Body crazy, crazy, wait. Yeah, yeah.
Remember, this is a party of female empowerment, though. This isn't about women being objects or whores. This is empowerment, I'm told.
They gon' click it if it's me. All my pictures been getting these through the quarantine. Yeah. I'm very well. Come on, as you can tell. Got beef from years ago. It's beefing by myself. On the real creep tip. Yeah. Rule number 1. Don't repeat that. Rule number 2. If they all came with you. Yeah. Yeah. Make some noise now. Whoa.
Ugh. Jesus. I know I'm sounding more and more like a boomer, but that ain't good music. That is of the lowest IQ. And you have to, it's funny, there's some old folks in the crowd just looking as perplexed as I am. Like there's a grandma right there wondering, what is this whore doing on stage? I'm sorry, that's pejorative. I believe they prefer the term escort. Thanks to the Urban Dictionary, I learned a thing or two from time to time. And this went pretty viral, got 1.6 million views and 32,000 likes. And the other example of money can't buy you everything in life. Because again, the DNC, they spent over $1 billion trying to get that Kamala Harris to actually win the presidency. $1 billion plus. And she only won in states that didn't have voter ID. Or I'm sorry, I believe of the 13 of the 14 states she won, they did not require voter ID. Total coincidence, I'm sure. Now, you go into the comment section. When the first one comes from Paul Zupa saying, quote, Kamala Harris is low class. Doesn't matter how many pants, shoes she wears, getting 682 likes. She's also geographically usually low to the ground, usually using knee pads since she did sleep her way to the top. You also have Gunther Eagleman says, quote, what a waste of $5 million getting 435 likes. I do wonder how much of that is just like money laundering to their pawns in the industries. Wall Street Maverick says, quote, 5 million and she got nowhere, getting 220 likes. Dr. Shari says, quote, Kamala Harris's campaign was a circuit of identity politics and wasted billions. No vision, no results, just noise. Americans saw through his stunt and said, enough. The nation deserves serious leadership, getting 112 likes. Based Electrician says, yep, July 30, 2024. I dug through this gem out of the archive. The seniors are so confused, which, yeah. Probably wondering, whoa, what are we doing here, Sonny? Why is there a whore on stage? This isn't the club. I thought this was a political rally that would have actual points and they'd have, campaign slogans that made sense, but of course not. It's Kamala Harris, word salad. You have Luke saying, quote, imagine paying people $5 million to shake their ass in front of millions of people just for an election, getting 1,000 likes. Fanatic says, quote, it paid dividends, Trump won, getting 805 likes. Ruff says, libs will watch this and say, I can't believe we lost, getting 178 likes. The conservative, I'm pretty sure I follow this guy, if not I should. I am now. The conservative alternative says, quote, this last election wasn't about politics, it was about culture. When we elected Donald J. Trump to be our next president, it wasn't just a rejection of Kamala, it was a rejection of woke ghetto culture, getting 267 likes. America Satirist has an AI generating picture of a liberal woman, which she is liberal because she has short hair, a nose ring, and glasses thicker than my thigh. Okay, not that thick, but you know what I mean. And so she is holding a sign that says, remember, when you let yourself down, there's no one to blame but Donald Trump, getting 166 likes. Golden Drifter says, quote, I'm convinced that they knew they were losing, so just laundered donors' money to friends and family. Get 134 likes now. That's not a realm of possibility. Again, for the while Trump was ahead in the polls, they're still spending, again, over $1 billion. I do wonder how much of that was just money laundering. Jody Allen says, quote, paid $2 million to rent Oprah and lost. And in the name of Trump, it says, put a sticker on a garbage truck and won. Get 164 likes. Yep. Rob Van Dam says, all the celebrities, and we just need a Hulk brother. Yeah, there's a gif of Hulk Hogan iconically ripping off his shirt from the RNC convention. Oh, yeah. What you gonna do when Hulkamania comes for you, brother? That was a bad impression, but nevertheless, the attempt was made to do the Hulk Hogan impression. Now, Dumb Blonde also says, quote, I forgot all of that. It was so retarded, getting 36 likes. Yeah. So, going viral yet again. And she claims she's not going to run for governor. She's going to publish a book. But again, I can't help but think, is money laundering as well? Because who's going to buy a book by Kamala Harris? I mean, really? But Let me know your thoughts, because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Leatherman recalling their multi-tool. Now, this is brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website. Granted, that's a pretty low bar. And they say, quote, Leatherman recalls Charge Plus multi-tools due to laceration hazard. Here you can see their iconic multi-tool. And pull this up really quick. Say the recall is about 17,000 units. Whoopsies. Now, they say, they quote, this recall involves the Leatherman Charge Plus and Charge Plus TTI multi-tools. They say the Charge Plus model multi-tools come in black and stainless steel colors with the black MOLLE or black nylon sheath. Charge Plus TTI multi-tools are also sold in stainless steel color with a black nylon sheath as well, with the name Leatherman etched into the product. They say that consumers should immediately stop using the recalled Charge Plus multi-tools. Go to leatherman.com/pages/charge recall to determine if their multi-tool was within the scope of the recall. Now, in terms of the recall, what went wrong? Well, whoopsies, turns out the tip of the knife blade doesn't actually fold into the handle, posing a laceration hazard, which, I don't know who's in charge of engineering or who's running the plant, but yeah, the knife doesn't actually go all the way in, so you got a nice little pointy tip poking out of the handle, which, again, it's a multi-tool. There are many tools in it, as the name would entail. The most important one that most people are going to use is the knife. How do you mess up the most important tool in the whole multi-tool, where the blade is literally manufactured? And it's also a little hurts because these are made in America for decades. I mean, Leatherman makes great tools. I love my little multi-tool. Carry it all over the place. It boggles my mind that someone got the dimensions wrong, or the manufacturing process was, faulty. So you get that nice little point. The sharpest part of the knife is just poking out awkwardly. I can't believe. Now, silver lining in the situation, I can't help but think this is probably because your average Leatherman owner probably more responsible than the average person in terms of, safety awareness, and, they're not tossing this all around, so to say. So again, they got ahead of the situation. There's been no reports of anyone getting hurt, injured, or passing away because of this manufacturing defect. And they noted that these are sold online, or they're at REI, cutlery stores, Leatherman.com, Amazon.com, from July 2024 to March 2025 for between $150 and $200, which these ways, you're also paying a premium for this tool, and I appreciate the fact it's made in the USA. It's very rare these days, and I try to support the companies that do that any way I can. But yeah, to have such a premium price point, $150 to $200 for multi-tool, and made in the USA is awesome, but it's like, gosh, it boggles my mind that they mess this up. Now again, historically speaking, some of the most reliable products on the planet, topless nails, pass them down, father to son, they're overall great. But yeah, to have a defect when the whole point of this product is a premium product, extra care to detail, I gotta say, Leatherman, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.